What's up, y'all? Professor Hurley here, bringing you another episode of Purple Bear Biology. If you're new and visiting, we discuss cool topics in biology, microbiology, and anatomy. If those topics are interesting you, then consider subscribing to join us through the exploration of life. If you're a returning subscriber, then I want to welcome you back. In this video, we get to talk about another awesome action inside of our bodies: digestion. One of the cool things about digestion is that it's such an accessible topic. We all perform the process and play a direct role in how it functions based on the foods that we decide to eat. But we as humans are not the only organisms that must perform digestion. In fact, I want to discuss 3 basic types of digestion that can take place across our biological world. Of course, we're going to take a look at our own digestive details as well. Mechanical digestion is the physical breakdown of materials into smaller pieces, while chemical digestion breaks down the chemical bonds of the nutrient source to make it more useful at the cellular level. The first and most simplistic form of digestion is something called intracellular digestion. Single-celled organisms like protists and bacteria commonly utilize this digestive process, where they engulf their food by wrapping a portion of their membrane around the nutrient source. Inside the cell, this newly formed vesicle will combine with another membrane packaged with digestive enzymes. This form of chemical digestion aids single cells at gaining access to necessary monomers of lipids, carbs, proteins, and nucleic acids. Waste is eliminated by fusing vesicles with the exterior of the cell and dumping the unused components through exocytosis. Though this may seem like a process that is too simple for our own bodies, never forget that while we have specific adaptations to process our food for more than just cellular digestion, the process of digestion in our bodies still ends similarly, with necessary nutrients being transported into each of our cell cytoplasm. A step forward in digestive evolution would be moving to an incomplete digestive system. The digestive system that we can see here is called a gastrovascular cavity. We can find digestive processes like these in cnidarians and flatworms. Essentially, the organism has a mouth that leads into an internal body cavity that serves as a site for chemical digestion. In this system, digestive enzymes are secreted into the gastrovascular cavity to begin the cellular breakdown of the nutrients. Those partly digested nutrients can then be directly absorbed across the cellular membranes surrounding the gastrovascular cavities. This system is referred to as incomplete digestion because the remaining waste after digestion is then eliminated out the same opening that the organism used to consume the food in the first place. Thus, in an incomplete digestive system, the mouth and the anus are the same opening that are not mutually exclusive. The advantage or advancement of this digestive system over a single-cell digestive format is that larger particles of food can be taken in, broken down, and processed. The last of the basic digestive systems is the complete digestive system. This method of digestion has been highly specialized for many different animal groups, including ourselves. The basic of this system involves an internal digestive pathway starting at a mouth and ending at an anus. Specialized structures have developed to perform mechanical and chemical digestion along the way. In most organisms with this type of digestive system, digestion begins in the mouth itself. Ripping, tearing, and grinding tend to take place in the mouth, with the primary function of mechanical digestion breaking down the large chunks of food consumed. Cool fact alert! Did you know you can tell a lot about the types of food that an organism must eat based on their mouth alone? For example, the teeth of organisms tells us a great deal about the types of foods they consume. Sharp, pointy teeth signify that an organism is a predator or a scavenger that rips and tears flesh from their food, while broad and flat teeth demonstrate grinding for food is necessary. Extensive grinding tends to be necessary for herbivores to break down plant cell walls to gain access to the nutrients trapped within them. Your mouth serves as a wonderful example of both of these types of teeth. You are an omnivore that consumes both meat and plant matter, Thus, you need a mixture of both forms for mechanical digestion to occur. Not all complete digestive systems involve teeth, though. Some groups, like earthworms, consume decomposing matter, and thus they do not need extensive mineralized teeth for mechanical digestion. Additionally, most birds have evolved to exclude teeth inside of their beaks. Though to be clear, in birds, the loss of teeth is more of an evolutionary characteristic for flight than it is actually a function for digestion. So you may be wondering, do organisms without teeth not need to mechanically digest their food? Well, not exactly. Instead, they develop specialized structures like muscular stomachs that have the ability to squeeze food and break it down. Did you know that some birds even swallow pebbles from the environment to store temporarily inside of these muscular stomachs called gizzards? These pebbles then act as makeshift teeth that break down food as the gizzard contracts and pushes the pebbles against the food itself. One important note about if an organism doesn't break food down in its mouth, the mechanical digestion that occurs later downstream means that you have to have a specialized storage site to temporarily store food. In earthworms and birds, this is called a crop, and it enables them to hold food recently consumed in place while the gizzard slowly breaks down the food administered to it. Your mouth is an impressive assortment of mechanical digestion that occurs from teeth, as well as chemical digestion that occurs from salivary glands that secrete saliva to begin to digest carbohydrates. Amylase is one of the primary enzymes that gets secreted inside of saliva that performs this function. When you move from your mouth, the next stage of digestion would technically be the esophagus that transports food from the mouth to the stomach. If we get down to the nitty details, the esophagus is really just a transport structure and doesn't really aid in the breakdown of food. Smooth muscles on your esophagus contract on one side of the food, pushing the food down towards the stomach. This contraction is referred to as peristalsis, and you can kind of think of it like pushing on the end of a tube of toothpaste to get it to come out the opening. Once food makes it to the stomach, additional chemical breakdown occurs. In our bodies, the next primary nutrient up for breakdown are proteins. Our stomach contains a fluid called stomach acid that is incredibly acidic. Stomach acid has a pH somewhere around 2 to a 3. This acidic environment is actually created as cells work in unison to secrete hydrogen ions and chloride ions into the stomach chamber. These two ions then combine together to form hydrochloric acid. Fascinatingly, this stomach acidic chyme is important for multiple functions, but one of the most important is activation of a protein enzyme called pepsin that will break down peptide bonds between protein amino acids. One really important thing to note about this entire process is that hydrochloric acid does not occur inside of the stomach cells themselves. Instead, it's created inside of the stomach chamber. Why would this make a difference? Well, the acidic hydrochloric acid would be very damaging to stomach cells if it occurred inside of them. So you may be wondering, how does the stomach survive the chemical breakdown of the acidic solution found inside of it if the cells themselves would be damaged? Well, the cool thing about your stomach is that you have a mucus secretion that acts as a buffer to neutralize the acidic stomach acid before it comes in contact with your own cells. This buffer is not without its limits, though. One particular problematic encounter occurs when we develop ulcers. Originally, the thought process was that ulcers stem from excessive stress. However, recent scientific research has demonstrated that ulcers have a variety of different causes. One of the primary causes of ulcers is actually a bacteria. Helicobacter pylori is a bacterium that can temporarily survive in acidic environments like the stomach and actually burrows through the stomach's protective lining. This damage leads to the stomach acid damaging the cells lining your stomach's digestive chamber and creates sores we call ulcers. Though we definitely cannot shadow the importance of the digestion that takes place in the mouth and the stomach, but the primary place of digestion and absorption is in the intestines of organisms. In fact, inside of your digestive system, you have 3 primary accessory organs that specialize in chemical breakdown of nutrients that enter into the small intestine. The first of these specialized organs is a hugely influential structure called the pancreas. This organ not only provides digestive enzymes for carbohydrate and fatty acid breakdown, but also helps neutralize acidic stomach acid that enters with partially digested foods from the stomach chamber. To do this, our body uses a chemical called bicarbonate, and it neutralizes the acid because it's a base. Your pancreas also has a dynamic impact on your overall blood sugar levels, utilizing two hormones for regulation. It secretes glucagon to stimulate the liver to raise blood sugar, while using insulin to cause cells to actively absorb glucose out of the blood when the levels are too high. Our next accessory digestive organ would be the liver. This is a relatively huge multi-lobe structure and is directly responsible for aiding in the breakdown of fats that make it to the small intestines. The liver secretes a detergent-like chemical called bile that is normally temporarily stored in the gallbladder until needed. You can kind of think of bile like Dawn dishwasher soap. It effectively binds to fats and helps break them down into usable monomers. You know, the gallbladder technically might be a little offended if we described its function purely as a storage site. The gallbladder takes the bile salts from the liver and supercharges them by making them more concentrated. Speaking of your gallbladder, did you know you could actually survive without it? Many of you may have even had this organ removed if it was proving more problematic than beneficial. Now you may be saying to yourself, wait a minute, Professor Hurley, how is it possible for us to still digest fats without the gallbladder? The short and sweet answer is that the liver still secretes bile. The process just works a little slower, and thus those of us that have had this structure removed have to be cautious about the amount of lipids we consume. Now all of those are helpful organs, but the real digestion and absorption of nutrients is facilitated by your small intestine. Your small intestine is the primary site of all of the absorption of nutrients needed for cellular processes. With such a specific and important task, you may wonder how one organ can be responsible for so much absorption. The answer is hopefully not all that surprising. The small intestine is an expert in adaptation of surface area. Divided into three primary regions, your small intestine is folded extensively. Not only does this extended absorption tube bend around repeatedly to increase the available sites for absorption, it also consists of projections called villi that increase the surface area. And these villi even have projections on their own projections. At the cellular level, the intestine has small extensions called microvilli. Projections on projections means that your intestines is capable of packaging an astounding amount of surface area into a relatively small space. Cool fact alert, so specialized is the surface area projections on your intestines that collectively you have more surface area available for absorption than the amount of surface area found on a standard-sized tennis court. Think of that the next time you wonder how all of the molecules from your cheeseburger could end up inside of your circulatory system and move around your body. In between the small and large intestine, some organisms have additional structures to increase the time spent breaking down foods. In herbivores, this structure is called a cecum, and it serves as a site for additional breakdown of plant matter, as well as serving as a storage site for some vitally important microbiota needed to gain access to highly protected plant nutrients behind those cell walls. Fascinatingly, inside of carnivores, this structure is remedial or absent entirely, because there's no need for the same level of digestion with meats as there is with plant matter. Your only remnant of a cecum exists as a vestigial structure called the appendix. From the small intestines, food moves directly into our large intestines. This large absorption structure has one primary function: attempt to reabsorb the water that was invested into the digestive process. How much water gets invested into the digestive process? Your digestive system utilizes a staggering amount of water throughout the digestive process, and if you did not reabsorb some of it, then you would quickly dehydrate. Typically, you can use as much as 7 liters of water a day for digestion. That's over 30 8-ounce glasses of water a day. The large intestine attempts to regain as much of that water as possible before eliminating waste out the rectum or anus. Isn't all this digestion amazing? And we've just begun to touch the surface of the specialization that exists. Organisms like cows have multiple digestive chambers, commonly called multiple stomachs. They also regurgitate their food to give them additional chances to mechanically digest plant matter. Other organisms like rabbits even eliminate waste and then reconsume the partly digested waste pellets to send it back through the digestive system again. This process of consumption of waste is affectionately called coprophagy. Now that might make you second guess rubbing noses with your little fur baby, but keep in mind that without this adaptation, they would likely become malnourished. Regardless of the amazing adaptations throughout biodiversity, our bodies can serve as a good reference point for digestion and provide an awesome model to learn mechanical and chemical breakdown of foods consumed. I hope you found this topic as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed the topic and want to explore something in more detail, drop a comment in the comment section below to let me know what else you'd like to delve into. Additionally, if you found the video helpful, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. As always, thank you all for watching, and see y'all next time.